Welcome to today's Christian music broadcast with Tyler Garth.
Yes, and thank you, Gene. I am Tyler Garth, the host of today's Christian music radio program, a program hosted and brought to you by CSMI, Christian Songwriters and Musicians International. And you can always visit our website at www.csminetwork.com. And today we have our guest, Eleni Naomi. I was talking to her before the show to make sure I get that pronounced right. Eleni, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, we're excited to have you. Heard a lot of great things about what Jesus has been doing through your music ministry, and we'd like to get to that. Why don't you tell us a little bit about a song that I've recently seen posted that I think you're pretty excited about, and we'll play that for our listeners. I believe it's called Speak. What was that birthed out of? How did that come about?
That actually came out of a pretty difficult time in my life. I had just graduated college, and I felt God was calling me to move out to California. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio, and so it was really far away from everyone and everything I knew. So I did move out there, and I lived with my aunt, who I didn't know all that well. I mean, she was great to me, but, it was still all kind of an unknown situation. And so I got out there, and I just felt really isolated for a lot of the first months that I spent out there. And it was really in that time that God taught me how, through His Word and just through prayer and just being still before Him and alone with Him, He really taught me how to rely on Him as my strength,
wonderful.
Regardless of what's going on.
And I know you could tell us plenty more. Let's take a listen to the song, and then you can kind of walk us through that some more. How's that?
I'm closing the last door and turning away from the sea. Open your holy word and see what you have for me. These voices call out to me hour after hour, when all I desire is to feel your power. Speak to me, Lord, show me your plan. Say my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Lord, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Speak, Lord, I'm weak, Lord, speak. The days run together as loneliness starts to set in. Fall on my knees in prayer, 'cause I've lost sight of your face again. The devil holds on, and I'm drowning in shame, but ever so softly you whisper my name. Speak to me, Lord, it's all in your hands. You say my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. Lord, thy word is a lamp unto my feet. Speak, Lord, I'm weak, Lord, speak. The thief cometh not before to steal, kill, and destroy, to keep you from peace and take all your joy. But the God of all glory, the rock upon which I stand, you are mighty, no one can take me out of your hand. Whoa, you have delivered
then was I hearing from that in the midst of difficult and lonely times, we're reaching out to hear the voice of God, because that surrounds us with a love that we're looking for? Go ahead and rehash, explain a little more about that, about what you were. I interrupted you before the song.
Oh, no, that's
you were telling me. What's that?
Yeah, so it's, like I said, it was just in a very, I guess, really isolated and lonely time in my life, but it was actually really beautiful because God taught me how to really rely on Him alone for strength, and really that, you know, I really believe, and I believe the Word supports it, that God's speaking all the time, if we'll just stop and listen. It's not like He's some distant God. He's really personal, and He's always available. And so when we learn to call out to Him in those desperate times, He responds with His peace, and even through, you know, the Scriptures, like my sheep know my voice. And that His word is a lamp unto our feet. I just feel like those words were so much comfort in that time, because there was so much unknown around me. I didn't know what, you know, the next month was going to look like. And so it was just kind of learning to walk in faith and let Him be that light, and to call out to Him personally. Yes.
Now, is that the time that you're speaking of in your bio I was reading? It says, Eleni seeks to reach others with the hope that has radically and completely changed her life. Was this, is that speaking of something different, maybe a salvation experience, or is this the same as what you were just telling us about?
That time that I was telling you about is just a piece of that whole experience. Shortly before that, I was actually attending a church in Akron, Ohio, called New Covenant Sanctuary of Praise, and the pastor there, Pastor Lee, was just really passionate for the Word of God, and he's one of those people that when you get into a conversation with him, like, you just know he hears from God. You know, he'll read your mail.
A man of God.
Yes, such a blessing. And so
we all need one of those in our life.
That's true.
We all need a man of God in our life, or a woman of God.
Yeah. So under the time that, you know, I attended that church, God really that's not the right word, stirred something up in me, awoke something, that's what I was looking for, within me, and really started stirring a hunger for His Word and a love for Him. And I believe that's where He really started to romance me. And the season that Speak came out of was actually a time where He was really dealing, like, after He had gotten my attention and it, you know, gotten my affections, then He really wanted to deal with some deep things that were strongholds in my life. So that's kind of more the season that song came out of, is when He really was doing that deep work of just freeing me from things that I didn't even maybe recognize that I was held by.
And you want people to know that there is a God that loves us that deeply. He didn't just do that great work of salvation. He is a close, loving God that walks with us and wants to work with the inside of us to bring out of us what He envisioned when He created us. And and so through that, you know, God's stirred up some gifts in your life. I see here what singer-songwriter, artist, musician, worship leader, and your music is basically being called Soul Jazz for Jesus, through which you have something called Light Bright Artists Night. Why don't you tell us how that came about, and then tell us what God's been doing with that recently?
Okay. Well, you know, like I said, there was that time where God really grabbed a hold of my affections, and so singing, which was always a love of my life, became a tool that I really felt like He wanted me to use for His glory. And so in that, when I started writing music from the Scriptures and through my experience with walking with Him, is kind of where Soul Jazz for Jesus was birthed. And so it's kind of, it's jazz with some soul, and it's, you know, some of the stuff that I write is actually really a throwback to some of the standards and things like that. So if you listen to actually that EP Speak, there's some different things on that. But anyway, so out of that, when I got to Nashville, I began playing out in different music venues and bars and places that God really put it in my heart not just to keep Christian music in the walls of the church and at church events. He really put it in my heart to go out into the darkness and to take that message of Christ, even in a format that could break through some barriers that exist. So, you know, a lot of times because of the style that I'm coming in, some people will listen and maybe not even right away know that they're getting the gospel, which is kind of cool. You know, it draws them in.
I'm sounding like perhaps I am losing you. I hopefully, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, it started to sound like I was losing you there, but I noticed you mentioned that we need people who minister in the church, and you have a heart for that as well, but you cannot ignore the longing to bring the light out into the darkness and see the dead come to life. Now, I do want to emphasize, because CSMI, one of the emphasis of it is to help keep integrity in the Christian music industry, and I want our listeners to know that when you go into the places the world visits, the bars and the clubs and so forth, wherever the Lord's opening the doors, that you're going in there in the righteousness of Christ, purity and holiness in your life. You're not in there to partake in their worldliness. You're bringing the light of Christ into that darkened place. And sometimes things get loosey-goosey, watered down, and people say, it's ministry. But, I believe when I heard you share at our conference last fall, that you have the crystal clear vision for the purity of Christ in your ministry in a darkened world. And the world, I don't think they're not fooled by things when we come in trying to kind of act like the world and present the gospel. When we come into a worldly setting and we're still starkly Christian, they actually have more respect for that, even if there's some conviction, which, by God's grace, we all need. That's how I came to Christ. He convicted me about my need for Him. But how have you been received in those settings? Tell us of a few examples of perhaps some people that have been helped. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's always an interesting experience because you never really know, sometimes even until the moment that you open your mouth, spiritually how you're going to be received in a place. And one event actually comes to mind. Every now and then I'll actually go to just an open mic and I'll sign up, and a lot of these open mics are in just straight up bars where people really are just coming out to drink and and there's a lot of darkness in those atmospheres. And so one time I remember, specifically with that heart to try to stay true to righteousness and to stay bold in the message. And I actually remember spiritually having a little bit of warfare myself on the stage because they did an in-the-round format, which means you take turns. And as I'm waiting for my turn, I could actually feel some turmoil going on about, because I knew what song I was going to do. And it's a song that's very, it's not brash in a bad way, but it's very bold about the message and that Jesus is the only way. And so I actually remember having to go to prayer in that moment and be like, all right, I'm supposed to do this song. Lord, just use it to bless whoever needs to hear it. And it was interesting because as I was singing it, I could definitely feel the spiritual tension in the atmosphere. But afterwards, not even in the moment, but someone actually reached out to me via my website after the fact and said how blessed they were by the fact that I came in boldness and declared that message in that atmosphere.
Wonderful.
So that was really cool.
Yeah. And not only has the Lord opened doors for Light Bright Artist Night in Nashville, but now you've also been, I think, Indianapolis last year. Am I correct in that?
January, yes. In January, we went live in Indianapolis and also in Clarksville. And I'd love to tell you a little bit about Light Bright Artist Night in particular, if we've got time.
Please, do so.
Okay. So Light Bright Artist Night, basically, God put the vision for that on my heart after I had been kind of doing the music evangelism on my own. He crossed my path with so many amazing artists in this city of Nashville that had a similar heart, that wanted to take the message of Christ to these places through music. And so God really put it on my heart to bring them together. And so that's where Light Bright Artist Night came. And the vision of that is to encourage, refresh, and celebrate music evangelists. And so basically through the blessing of community and lifting one another up, and also fighting against the competitive thing that happens so much even in Christian music. It's been really beautiful to see God bring together a family of artists, really, in this city. And in that unity, there's so much power. So that's really the heart behind what Light Bright Artist Night is.
Yes.
And so on a larger scale, I really felt like God said that he really wanted to take cities with this ministry, meaning that it would be something that would be planted in other places so that music evangelists in that area could be unified as well, and they could affect change in their communities.
Right.
So yes,
and,
now we're live in Nashville, Indianapolis, and Clarksville. My good friend Hannah Mwangi is the host up in Indianapolis, and Lydia Walker, actually, who you guys know pretty well, she's the host for Clarksville.
Wonderful. So if someone wanted to find out where a Light Bright Artist Night was being held, where would they go, and how would they get a hold of you if they needed to?
Yes, we actually have right now a Light Bright Artist Night Facebook page. And so if you're on Facebook, you just, I always tell people you spell everything wrong but artist. So Light Bright is Litebrite, and then Night is Nite. And if you look that up on Facebook, you can find us there. And then you can find me, in particular, if you want to actually look into planting this in your city, I'd love to talk to you at souljazzforjesus.com. You can connect to me there really easy, and I'd love to. I actually have some ministry guidelines set out that are really just more of kind of something helpful to communicate the vision, but also give you some tips on how to get it going for your city.
Right. So. And, I believe that there are a lot of evangelists out there, and obviously you're talking about music evangelism, and what's special about that, as a quote again from your bio, is music can be so disarming, and that your vision for sharing the truth of Jesus through this style was to defenses before they have a chance to shut it out. Because if I just walked up to somebody and started sharing the gospel, depending on the situation, as soon as they realized what I was doing, they're out the door, so to speak. But they hear some music they like, or a style they are familiar with or expect to hear in the place that they visit, and after a while, they might start hearing some of the message in the music that they're not used to hearing. Opens the doors. So
and God's really been faithful. It's kind of funny to me to look at some of the songs that he's given me, because even in some of the more upbeat, jazzy, joyful-sounding songs, he's put some really deep truths in there, too. So it's almost one of those things where, and I do believe it's bold enough that you'll catch the message if you're listening to the lyrics, but it can, again, it kind of pushes past those initial defenses that can go up if maybe someone recognizes, oh, this is a Christian song, I can tell by, the way it sounds, or, you know what I'm saying? So.
Oh, yes. That's why it's, by God's grace, you have your own genre, basically, of music.
I know.
And you don't hear a lot of that in the Christian side of the music industry, and that's why it's a wonderful, fresh, new way for God to move in other people's lives. And
God is so creative.
Yes, he is.
I love it.
He created it all.
I can't take credit for it. It just kind of came out that way, so I know that's totally him.
Well, played the song "Speak" earlier in the program, and you mentioned having an EP, and so if they wanted to get a hold of a copy of that, would they have to order it, or can they download that off your and pay for it off your website?
It's actually available on iTunes and Google Play, and I believe Amazon as well. And again, if you go to my website, souljazzforjesus.com, there's a link to it right on the front page, so pretty easy to find. And then, of course, if you're in Nashville and you come to a show, I always make sure to have them with me, too.
Excellent. How is your family responding to your ministry? Parents, siblings, or...
Yes, I have actually two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother. And then both my mom and my dad are just very supportive. It's funny because we're all spread out now. My dad still is in Ohio. My mom and my stepdad actually moved to Phoenix recently, and then my brothers are still up in Ohio too. But anytime I get a chance to go home and share music, they're always right there to support me. And my mom and my dad, they just really pour into it and speak life into what I'm doing, and it's always been a huge blessing. They're like my biggest fans. Well, aside from my husband, of course. I think he takes the cake, but do you have a prayer team that helps support what you're doing, or is that the prayer team? Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, husband? There's no specific prayer team in place. Every time something comes up, it's kind of whoever is either involved with the night or who's just close by to agree in prayer. But prayer is definitely a big part of what we do. And the Light Bright Artist Night in specific, we've actually started kind of crashing open mics around town together. And so we always make sure to just pray that God will open up opportunities, make us sensitive to his leading so that we can see, who we're supposed to talk to, not just to minister from the stage, but also to have conversations with people that God highlights. I definitely am very blessed to be surrounded by people who care about prayer and who will pray right then.
Yes,
let's
that's
pray
right.
Now,
Who are some of the other artists that show up with you? Who are some of those you hang with?
You probably know some of them. Alice Summers is someone who's a real dear friend. She's been out to a few of the light, what I'm affectionately calling Light Bright Life Flight, which is these open mics that we do. And Judy Pastor has been really faithful of coming out to those. Tara Dene, which I believe you actually interviewed on your show not too long ago.
That's right, just 2 weeks ago.
And, Erskine Anavitarte. I don't know if you've heard that name yet. He's an awesome man of God. And I know there's a few I'm forgetting, but it's just beautiful to see their hearts because, in all honesty, in the music industry, even in the Christian realm, sometimes it can be so much about how important the event is that you're doing and, by man's standards. And these open mics, we're literally showing up and signing up on an open mic sheet, so there's no glory in it for us. It's really just a beautiful opportunity to share the gospel. So it's really humbling to see others come and be a part of that.
Well, sure, and I also am blessed by the fact that you're using the door God has opened for you in ministry, and instead of, and I think this speaks to the competitive side of things you mentioned of earlier in the program, instead of trying to shut others out and keep this as your niche and your place to go minister, you're trying to bring other artists with a similar vision because to join you in this effort, we never know which person is going to touch what other person. And it's just like going to a certain preacher. For some reason, you could preach the same message as someone else, but that preacher is going to touch this person's heart that the other one could not. And the fact that you're, it's a great encouragement to other artists to gather them in and say, hey, here's an opportunity. I know you love to share the gospel through singing or through playing or whatever, and please, why don't you come join me? So basically, I think you've found yourself in a bit of leadership
Yeah, it's funny how that
great.
happens
That's
because
what we need.
God has really just opened every new thing. I haven't had to strive to find artists. God has just brought them. He's crossed my path with them, and now that it's expanding, He's just really made these divine appointments happen with these friends of mine who have grabbed a hold of the Light Bright vision and want to take it to other cities too. So it's totally God's blessing. His heart is so much for His church to be in unity, the larger church, because obviously there's lots of local bodies, but we're all the Church of Christ. And so it's been really amazing to see His heart and His favor over the expansion of it, because He loves when His kids come together and spread His gospel.
That's right. They're all together in one place, in one accord. The power, Phil.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
Yep.
Hey, now, I want to know, because we only have a few minutes left here, are you going to be with us next fall at the conference, or do you know that yet?
I am hoping to be there, yes. It's on my calendar, so I can't see any reason we won't join you again. It was such a blessing to be there last time. And even, my husband, Thomas, he's such an awesome man of God. He's, all about prayer. If you ask him what his favorite thing to do is, that's it. He loves to pray alone. He loves to pray with other brothers and sisters in Christ. But anyway, his testimony after coming back, he said, in some ways, I have to be honest, I had this idea in my mind that, we were just kind of going to do a conference and, it was going to just kind of feel regimented. And he said he was really blown away by how real and how much it really was about the Spirit of God and coming together and worshiping the Lord and lifting up His name, and how the prayer was just so real. You know what I'm saying? It didn't feel like a show. It didn't feel like an agenda. And so he was really blessed by that too.
Wonderful. That's a great testimony. And I think Gene, the founder of CSMI, would be very, very encouraged to hear that. And, for others who might be interested, the CSMI conference is this October 21st, 22nd, 23rd in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And if you would like to look into it more, you can always go to our website at www.csminetwork.com. And we are trusting to have Farrell and Farrell there with us. Gene Watson will be sharing. We've been speaking to an A&R guy from Provident Music Group who is, we're trying to work out the details with them coming. And we're also trying to work things out with Worship Leader Today. Still looking for a response, hoping that they'll come and talk to us as well. And I hope you can all be with us next program, which will be the 27th of March. And tell your friends, remember the number you dialed in, 714-364-4547. They can call in and listen into this program. And you have about 20 seconds. If you've got anything else you'd like to share with people, Eleni, what would you say?
We actually have Light Bright coming up in both Nashville and Clarksville. Thursday, March 24th, we'll be in Clarksville at College Coffee Company, and March 26th in Nashville at the Well Coffee House, Brentwood. So we'd love to see you if you're local.
Excellent. And I just want to thank you again for being with us today, Eleni, and we certainly look forward to being with you again and hearing from you.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, and you enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, Today's Christian Music. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast. For more information, you can email us at cwnnashville@gmail.com or visit our website at csminetwork.com.
You don't have to fear.